thanks for joining me today. So the purpose of this video is to give you some ideas about how to use monthly sections, and actually, do you know what, whether you do want monthly sections or not. Maybe you've got monthly sections in your planner at the moment and they're just not working for you, or you just think, oh, how do I make these work? So hopefully this will give you an idea about how to make it work. Or maybe after watching the video you think, do you know what, that is not for me at all, which is fine too. And maybe if, like me, you're someone that's not used monthly sections in their planner before and are just toying with the idea, then hopefully this will give you something to think about today. So this is going to be the first in a series of like planner tips videos, I suppose, or not tutorials as such, but videos to help you figure out what's going to work best for you and your planner. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in and you want more of, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean so much to me. Anyway, let's crack on then, shall we? So I've got two planners here. I'm just going to ignore this one for a little bit. This is kind of like my reference planner because it's different. I'm just going to move that out of the way. Okay, let's focus on this one. This is the one that kind of started it all for me, because I know monthly planners are really popular. I sell loads of them in the shop, but it's something that I must admit I've never really gotten on board with, but I'm trying it out this time and I think it's going to be good actually. So the question is, what goes in your monthly sections? So first of all, I would suggest having a think about, well, what do you want in your planner? Because there's going to be some sort of overlap between what you're going to want in your monthly compared to what you want in the rest of your planner. Now, I would suggest actually that if you like doing your weekly planning, which I do, I think it probably makes sense to have that in here. So I'm just going to flip through to a month that I've actually got set up in here. So let me just take that out. So in my monthly sections, I've got a page for a spread for every week, and I've left that undated. And it may be that I'm not going to be using it every week, but I think it is quite useful because for a start, it helps you to find your place in your planner because you know automatically what month you're in, and each month doesn't have that many pages, so it's kind of just easy to navigate. I think for this one, if I'd have had a weekly section, it would have seemed a little bit artificial to have a monthly section, if you know what I mean, because I think they kind of go together quite nicely. But let's compare that to daily. So if you are a daily planner, and I've always liked daily planning, in this one, I don't have a daily section. In other planners, as you can see in this one, I have had daily alongside my weekly, but in this one, my daily planner, I'm keeping in the inbox. So I just have a little bit for dailies in there so I can just dip in as and when I need to do that. I don't imagine doing daily planning for me every single day. I don't need to, but sometimes if I'm sitting at my desk at the start of the day and I've got that much going around in my head, I do quite like sitting down and just getting it all out on paper first. But it's not all the time. And if it's not all the time, I don't want to waste sheets by having one in every one of these. So for me, it's an inbox kind of thing. If you really like doing daily planning, maybe you can have a section for it, but maybe you don't want to have it in your monthly sections because for a start, it's going to make them a bit cluttered. However, what I would recommend is in your monthly section, use this as a bit of a jogging your memory kind of space. So you might, when you design your planner system to begin with, which to be fair is my favourite bit ever, but when you design your monthly section, you might like to have like a monthly planning routine. So let me just show you my task card with a lot of that on. So my monthly routine then, go through my inbox, a month reset, check upcoming dates, review habits, health and reading, declutter, and a reflection. So to help me with some of those, I've got my corresponding pages in here, and I've got it set up so that everything I want to do is here ready for that month. So right through to I'll have a space for my habits, my health, and a reflection bit in the end. Now, if I wanted, for example, to have like a monthly like brain dump session, I'd have that in here as well. It's just that I haven't built that into my system, so I haven't put that in there. So your monthly sections then could be a great place to put copies of anything that you want to complete every month to remind you, like while you're there, if you see it, it's going to trigger that memory to get it all done. So moving on then, how can we make this a little bit more useful? Well, my question to you is, do you need a clear dashboard? So you might have just noticed that I had this one just here. So this clear dashboard then is one that I'm hoping to move from one month to the next. And I'm making that easy because I don't know if you can see that clearly on the video, but I've put slits in the rings so it can get taken in and out really, really easily. Now my clear dashboard in this case then is going to hold stuff like my task cards and my washi tape, but actually it could be a really great place, if I didn't have so much washi tape on there, to hold some memo notes or maybe like pocket sheets, that kind of thing. So if I knew, for example, that there was going to be like a task list I really had to focus on, then if I had that stuck in the front with a little bit of washi tape on it, then that's just going to really stand out. It's going to be something that I always see. These also work really well as kind of like a bit of a page marker because they're that little bit heavier, so your planner does tend to fall open to that kind of page when you're flicking through. So they are really, really useful. If also you like to have stickers, then I've used icon stickers in the past as well. Have I got any on this one, I wonder? Have I taken them out already? I probably have. I tend to just butcher these as soon as I finish using them. But this one you can see had the same kind of thing, but with some little sticky notes on there already, so I can just carry them around from one section to the next. But if you have like a card holder or a sticky pocket of some sort, again, if you have some stickers, you could always slip that in there as well, so everything is just there where you need it to be. These are my favourite thing at the moment. It's so useful. So the next question I would ask you then is, would a perpetual calendar be a better idea for you? And maybe you're someone that uses this already and you are going to be singing the praises of a perpetual calendar. But if you are not familiar with that, let me just show you a month overview. So on my month overview, I might write things like term dates. There might be a national holiday. There might be appointments that I've got. I might be doing something fun for the day for once. All sorts of stuff, but that's going to be changing from 1 April to the next April. But there are some things that don't change, like birthdays or occasions like anniversaries and that kind of thing. And maybe it's a sort of thing where you don't have a date, but it's a thing that has to be done on a certain month. So maybe car insurance is due on a certain month or that kind of thing. Well, a perpetual calendar is a separate space for those unchanging dates. And if you're anything like me and you tend to switch planners quite a lot, that's just really handy because it just means you can just take it out and just put it in your next planner and it's just all there. So those can be really, really handy. What I would say though is, if you are using your overview for like the non-perpetual calendar kind of stuff, so those events, it's going to kind of go against everything in the shop here, but I would suggest, you know what, is electronic better for you, or is it something you should be considering alongside that? Because there's some things that planning on paper can give us that electronic can't, but vice versa as well. So if you value keeping loads of information alongside the date, or sharing invites, or you just want notifications come through to your watch, phone, whatever, then that is a really handy thing to do as well. I like to copy event details in, so if I'm getting a letter from my little girl's school saying that there's an event coming, I tend to just copy the whole thing, the whole letter onto my calendar. So I've got all of those details there, so inevitably when I forget, I know it's just a click away and it's just all there. Because part of this too is always going to be minimizing that paper clutter, as well as minimizing that sort of mental clutter that makes you feel like you've just got too much on and you can't handle it. My next question then for you is, if you've got monthly sections, does that mean that you need dated inserts? So you might know from any other videos that you've seen that normally when I have my planner, I leave it undated. And I think for me personally, this is essential because I'm terrible at just going days without using it if I'm not in the habit of it. And I hate that wasted space. And one of the things that put me onto ring planners in the first place, rather than coil planners, that kind of thing, even though I just love the idea of them, it's that if you don't fill it in, that day is just blank, and it just will be, and you can't remove it. Oh, the guilt. Oh dear. But if you have undated weekly inserts and you don't fill it in, well, that's great, because your pack of inserts is going to last you 1 week extra. No big deal. And you can just take it out and use it again in another section. Wonderful. Same with daily inserts as well. Good Lord, I would never have those dated because I miss so many of those because I don't use them that often. So some things, personally, I'm a big fan of having undated, but this is the first time for me that I've had a monthly dated section throughout the whole year, and I don't think that necessarily this is always appropriate, especially if you have a digital calendar as well. But for me, at the moment, I am currently 21 weeks pregnant, and I've got so many medical appointments and so many bits and pieces to think about, and I tend to have appointments months in advance, or I might have jobs to do but I don't want to do them yet, but I want to think about them in 3 months. And typically for me, I don't have very much of a time period in a planner at once, but actually this year I wanted the whole length. So for me this time round, I'm having a dated section because I've got lots of dates to keep track of. Now maybe you, for your lifestyle, for your job, that kind of thing, you can relate to that because you have lots of long-term dates that you kind of just, you want to look up and you want to refer to alongside your planning, in which case go dated. But if that's not you, then why bother? Because as I said, if you don't use one, take it out, use it for another month, another week. Brilliant. So my next question then would be, if you have a monthly section, does this suit you to have your monthly tabs, or are you the kind of person instead that would prefer to have everything kind of together in like general tabs? I typically have always gone for this one, and I've usually had a weekly and a monthly, or weekly and a calendar or something like that for definite alongside everything else, and that has worked pretty well. And when I've been done with a week, I've just whipped it out and then left it, so I've got plenty of room in my planner if I've needed it. But what are your sections going to be in your planner? What do you need? I'd suggest normally there are things that are going to be really useful, like a note section, that kind of thing, but this really does depend on you and your current focus at the moment. I don't think there is any one size fits all to this kind of thing at all. I think that it's so flexible from one person to the next, and it should be. That's the great thing about these ring planners, isn't it? You can change them, and if one section isn't working, then rename it, have it as something else. And the more your life changes and the more your needs change, then your planner can change along with you as well. That is the beauty of having other sections as well as that. So for me, in this planner at the moment, you can see I've got some top tabs as well. Let me just quickly tell you about some of the benefits of mixing. So you can stack tabs, but one of my favourites to do, if I've got lots of them, is to have top and also side tabs. Now, this planner in particular, because I'm quite busy at the moment and have been feeling yucky for quite a while, I've given this planner a real sort of self-care kind of angle. And seeing these headings, so obviously I've got a note section because it's always useful, but seeing self-care and creative and reading reminds me when I open it, that's what I want to be doing. But that's not going to fit everybody. You know, you might hate reading for a start. You might be the least creative person on the planet, but maybe there are things for you that you want to have that just don't belong in a side section. And the question is, should you have to choose between monthly sections or not? Well, no. Maybe there's going to be a really nice mix for you, so you can have some general sections as well as monthly if you want to try and make that work. That would be my top tip. Go for both. Lastly then, if you can see this planner I'm using at the moment, this is a Filofax Malden, and it's not particularly uncommon with the disc size for this kind of size planner, and I tend to go for ones with larger rings. So this is a Van der Spek, and I believe I chose, I think I might have chosen 3cm rings with this one as well. I like them to be able to hold a lot of stuff. I like them to be quite chunky, but some planners aren't, and it is a bit of a luxury thing. So I know like the Louis Vuitton planners are really popular. I think those have got quite small rings. If you have a different size, so I've had a Filofax Pocket Malden, and there is not much space on those rings at all. And with some brands, you can't switch out the rings because there just isn't the room in the planner itself to accommodate that. Well, sometimes that's not a problem, but sometimes that is. If you have monthly dividers, they're going to take up a lot of space. And they're going to take up a lot of space because of just the sheer number of dividers themselves, but also because of those sections that you've got in your planner that you haven't used yet and you may not be using for at least another 6 months, yet you still have to have them in your planner. Well, do you? So what I would suggest, if a ring size is a bit of a limitation for you and your particular planner, what I would suggest is, do you need to have the whole year in your planner in one go? It may be that you can split it up. So you've just got the first 6 months of the year, the second, maybe you've got it into quarters, that kind of thing. In fact, if you are a goal setting, habit tracking kind of person, that does correlate quite nicely with review kind of periods, you know, like to have a bit of a 6 month check-in or a 3 month, are you on track kind of review. So that is quite a nice break to have. But if not, you could always have all of the monthly dividers in place, but take out a big chunk of the inserts for the later ones. Or when you have filled in a few previous months, take those out, and maybe you want to archive them, store them on some binder rings, that kind of thing, and maybe save on space that kind of way. I'm a big fan of binder rings. I tend to overestimate how much space I've got. I tend to think I've got so much room, and I print off loads and loads of stuff and I think, I can fit half of it in there. But I don't want to get it lost somewhere, so I tend to just clip it all together on some binder rings and then leave it for when I run out. If you don't know what those are, I will drop a link in the description below so you can see what they're like. They are so useful. Okay, so hopefully then that's given you something to think about, and ideally that's given you a bit of a direction to head in next maybe. So maybe you want to get yourself some monthly sections, or you think, oh no, that's really not for me at all. So I really do think that this whole thing comes down to what you need and what's going to work for you. And ultimately, if you are using them at the moment but you find that you're not using them every day, maybe think about changing it. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. If you have, please drop this video a like, and if you use monthly sections and you've got something different in yours that I haven't covered, I'd love to know what it is. Drop me a comment below and tell me what you've got. And if you are a fan of dated weeklies and maybe I've missed something, again, tell me. Am I just late to the party on that one? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching if you're indeed still watching. See you again soon. Bye bye.